This team is insanely overpowered, and it is unforgivable what the Golden State Warriors did to the Sacramento Kings. Steph Curry is a top 2 player in basketball, but if what happened last night continues, he won't be number 2. Hey, what's happening, everyone? This is Swish Culture. It's pretty obvious at this point that the Golden State Warriors are going to be crushing teams this year. With their first road win coming in their first road game, you better believe teams are taking notice. Ask the Sacramento Kings. This is not, I repeat, not the same team as last year. If you want to compare the current Warriors to any team in the past, look back to 2015. Steph Curry is setting records 9 years later. With Thompson catching a rhythm, Chris Paul continuing to thrive, Moody and Kuminga dominating, I will say what no one else has the guts to say. This is the death knell for the rest of the league. As if it wasn't bad enough that they ended the Sacramento Kings' dream of making a playoff run by knocking them out in the first round, the Golden State Warriors further punished their crosstown rivals with a third quarter flex so devastating the Kings are left to contemplate where they stand as far as being contenders in the league. The most driven team with the best record in the Western Conference last season was handed the most demoralizing beatdown. The Kings' reality is this: forget being contenders. They might be contemplating whether or not they can even make the playoffs. Because if they are in fact a playoff team, what does that make the Warriors? For the first quarter of the Warriors matchup with the Kings, something I noticed was that the Kings were playing a very familiar brand of basketball. It wasn't hard to figure out where I've seen this before. They were moving the ball, they were shooting from distance, and they were going toe-to-toe with the Warriors. It's obvious Mike Brown has brought a lot of influence and a bit of Warriors culture to Sacktown. While the Kings looked promising, the Warriors were not about to get outdone at their own game. Starting at the 5, Kevon Looney was intent on exposing Domantas Sabonis. This is one of the most interesting matchups starting in last season's playoffs, and it was evident that Sabonis did not want the smoke. You could feel the competitive tension between the two, but it was clear that with Kevon Looney on the floor, Sabonis was a much less effective player. After putting the Kings all-star in a cage and forcing everyone to question the legitimacy of Sabonis as a top 30 player in the league when the Kings were eliminated by the Warriors, Looney followed that up in the regular season rematch by putting the clamps on Domas on the defensive end and then saucing and dumping on the poor sap like it was 2014 UCLA. Kevon Looney finished the night with 8 points, 12 rebounds, 6 assists, and 3 steals in 28 minutes. While the effort was there from the Warriors, the Kings started finding a rhythm near the end of the first quarter behind the Aaron Fox. This carried over into the second quarter as the Kings' lead built up to double digits and the second unit had trouble getting it going without Curry on the floor. JaVale came out looking like prime Shawn Kemp. This size advantage gave the Kings total control of the game above the rim, which then gave momentum to the entire team as they looked to further extend the league with the 3-hit combo of Fox, Monk, and McGee. This didn't last very long as Kerr figured out the problem. He subbed Curry back into the game at the 9-minute mark of the second quarter. And this is where it happened. Down 11, Steph Curry returned and immediately created all sorts of problems for the Kings. Soon, guys were getting easy looks. Wiggins makes a layup. Curry set up Looney for another layup. Moody hits on a triple. And by the end of the second quarter, the Warriors had a 3-point lead off a nice triple by Jonathan Kuminga. The Kings tied it up early in the third, but that was like putting a band-aid on a broken leg. Before the Kings knew what hit them, the Warriors turned back the clock and hit prime Steph Curry. The chef started cooking and ran up the balance like a cheat code hitting the jackpot on a slot machine. The handoff from Splash Brother to Splash Brother saw Klay come in with about 3:45 left, and between he and Moses Moody, turned up the pyrotechnics in Golden One Center, with the lead exploding up to 18 points before common decency kicked in, and they ended the quarter up 15. That was a 29-point turnaround for the Warriors in less than 2 quarters. The fourth quarter came and Golden State was overwhelming the Kings. They responded to every Kings bucket, and by the 6-minute mark were up by 17 points. Sacramento on their own home court were about to go out sad. The same team that eliminated them in the playoffs came to their arena and not only doubled down on saying, "We're better than you guys," they made an outright statement and sent a message to the league that Golden State is on another level. At this point, the Warriors take their foot off the gas to slow it down, but the Kings, specifically De'Aaron Fox, had other plans and decided he wasn't going down without a fight. With 5 minutes left to go, Fox started getting to the hole. His increased aggression on offense seemed to light a fire in the team as he all but burst into flames as he started hitting from deep on multiple attempts. He cut the Warriors' lead to 5 points before Steph Curry had a chance to respond. As it got into the last seconds of the game, with Kerr swapping Looney and Kuminga back and forth, Steph Curry emptied the clip and buries a three.
7 to shoot. Wiggins turns the corner, finds Curry a three. You bet!
Oh.
Putting the game out of reach for the Kings and putting Sacramento to sleep. It was a valiant effort by the Kings, but there are no moral victories, and the Warriors don't intend to take prisoners. Off the bench, Jonathan Kuminga continues to be impressive. He's a very fun option for Steve Kerr, who seems to enjoy plugging him into just about any rotation due to his versatility. While I'd like to see him crashing the boards to get a few more rebounds, a convincing victory for the Warriors with 26 minutes from Kuminga versus a playoff team is a huge win in and of itself. He's becoming a much smarter player being around Chris Paul, and will be keeping tabs on his improvement as a decision maker as the season progresses. Kuminga finished with 12 points, 5 rebounds, and only turned the ball over twice while shooting 5 of 11 from the field. While he was a +9 on the night, sometimes it helps to play alongside the chef, if you know what I mean. Moses Moody as well is finally getting well-deserved minutes. He's been developing into one of the most reliable players on the floor, and a lot of times look like he'll be taking minutes away from Klay, and maybe even Wiggins. It's hard to ignore everything he's been doing on the court in supporting the starting unit, but moreover, being that guy when the team is struggling. He's a very rare kind of player that somehow seems to march to his own rhythm, yet able to flow within the Warriors' dynamic on both ends of the floor. It is truly a beautiful thing to watch. He's a player that never seems to get affected by issues on the floor. He's going to be a problem in this league for years to come and has at least 1 or 2 All-Star appearances in his future. Moody finished with 10 points, 3 steals, and 3 rebounds in 21 minutes, going 4 of 5 from the field. This 1-2 punch from the 2021 lottery is as dangerous as they've ever been, and they're only getting better. Klay Thompson was much improved as he was a whole player, as in he wasn't a liability in any aspect of the game. While he still kept up with his defensive assignments in the prior game, his second game was much more than what he did on defense and saw him hunting fewer shots, shooting at a higher clip, and making plays that make you forget this guy was out with injury for an entire 2 years. While it's still too early to make a declaration that he's back completely, don't be surprised if Klay comes out with more firepower than even Curry in the next game. Klay Thompson finding his rhythm and playing as a complete player is exactly what the Warriors needed. His speed has certainly increased and he's fairly confident in driving quickly to the basket. I think this was one of the issues with post-injury Klay. That is, his uncertainty in getting to the basket forced him to take more long-range shots. Now that he's confident, this will elevate his game and bring the Warriors into new territory. No one seems to realize this just yet, but the Warriors are the team to beat in the West. Klay finished with 18 points and 4 assists in 33 minutes, shooting 7 of 12 from the field and 2 of 4 from 3. But none of this would have even mattered if it wasn't for, well, check this out. Kevin Huerter is 25. Stephen Curry is 35. The absolute mockery that Steph Curry makes of Huerter's defense can leave a man broken, isolated, and flat out alone. For all the talk about what he does off ball, ISO Steph Curry is still one of the most lethal players in the league. Without even reaching into his most expensive backpack, he launched Huerter into oblivion. If a frisky 25-year-old isn't going to stop Steph Curry, the league's problems are only just beginning. For all the talk about his inability to create and needing screens, no one is guarding this chef one-on-one. It's unthinkable that Steph Curry at this point in his career is still doing these same things to players that he was doing when he first came into the league 15 years ago. The NBA, without a doubt, has a Steph Curry problem, and unfortunately, there is no way to fix it. Chef finished with 41 points, 4 assists, 4 rebounds, 14 of 19 from the field, and 7 of 10 triples in 35 minutes. This puts him in a category with Will Chamberlain, Michael Jordan, and Reggie Miller. Let me know in the comments what category this is. The best part about this entire thing, the Warriors are doing all of this without Draymond Green. Post your thoughts in the comments below. And if you've really watched up to this point and haven't subscribed, I hope you accidentally pour decaf in your coffee mug. Thanks for watching. Till next time. Swish.